December Daily 2025, day one. Let's get started. So, as I mentioned in my previous video, this is something I created last year. Let's get this album out of the way. Well, it seems no matter how big your desk is, and I have a decent sized desk, it gets very crowded when you pull out all your December Daily stuff. So, anyway, as I mentioned in my last video, I created this last year. I'm thinking I'm gonna change up some of these little embellishments because I just don't feel like they, I don't know, fit with the theme, or I don't know. These little pockets were made with a 3x8 vellum pocket that I cut down, and then I just cut another notch. I stitched them on here. This is coming off, so I'm going to add a little bit of glue, and then I'm going to stitch that on. I've got a photo and journaling that I actually printed both of them on photo paper. I've got these just attached with this cute little, I don't know what this is. It's a Tim Holtz little metal hook thingy. I'm sure that's not what it's called, but in fact, I know that's not what it's called, but you know. I'm thinking I'm going to change out just a little bit of these, and I do want to round the corners of that. I can find my corner rounder. Nope, that's not it. Where did it go? Okay, so I am going to go ahead and round the corners of my photo and then also my journaling. I believe I mentioned earlier that I printed the journaling on the photo paper just with the photo. It was just easier to do it that way, and then I can put them both on a 4x6 canvas and print it out at the same time. So I'm just going to round the corners and then attach those to my journal card. And then I'm going to work on changing out the embellishments that I have hooked on those little tags. Mentioned this a million times before, but I just love those scallop tags. They're so cute. So I went back and forth on how I was going to punch the holes in those tiny little banner flags, but I ended up pulling out my paper piercer to do that. I believe in other videos or other projects, I have also held the banner up with the hole in the card and then punched the hole, if that makes sense. I tried marking the hole with a pen, but it's so tiny I could not see it in my hole puncher there. So there I'm just kind of deciding what I want to put on there. I had grabbed a couple pieces from the Star Mini Kit, those little tags, and then I grabbed the green plastic number 1 from the main kit. I love those numbers so much. So, and again, I use the paper piercer to punch the hole in that. And then I'm just going to add all of those on my little clip there and clip them onto my journaling card. They're so cute. I love it. I did notice once I was done with this project, as I flipped the pages, all of those little bits and bobbles kind of got in the way a little bit as I was flipping the page. So either I'm going to need to tuck them in or flip the previous page along with that one to keep them in place. But you'll see here, I have a little bit of an issue with this pocket here. I think it's just the bottom little seam that gets in the way of my tag. So I just kind of use my my paintbrush to kind of hold the pocket up a little bit to get that little tag in there. So it's a little bit of a pain, but it's not a big deal. You know, it is what it is, right? So it's just fine. Okay, so I stitched that on. I added some glue. I actually double stitched it because the first one was crooked, so I thought maybe I'll add a second stitch to kind of take away from the crookedness a bit. So I think it's cute. It's simple. I love it. So I'm not going to add anything, I don't think, on these little tags right there. And now I'm going to flip it over and we're going to work on day 2. So for day 2, I have been playing around with this digital image. I actually had a heck of a time getting my printer to print correctly. I considered doing cardstock. I also considered, I've got a transparency here somewhere. Oh, there it is. But smudging, these are printable transparencies, but I don't know. I'm having a heck of a time this go around. So rather than printing anymore, I think I'm gonna call it good. It's got a little bit of a smudge on there, but once you put it on here, you can't really tell. And I'm just gonna, I'm gonna go with it. I'm dropping everything. So I pulled out a few things. I've got some pattern paper. I considered this one, and then these two. So I thought that might look cute, and also that one. But ultimately I think, well, I think I'm going to stick with the Starburst, but we will see. And then I printed a couple pictures, thinking, so originally on the back side of day one, I thought about going with a full-size photo, but I don't know, it just didn't feel right to me, and I really wanted to use this, and I thought this would look really cute, putting a photo here, maybe doing some kind of flip up. I printed it in color and black and white. I think I'm going to end up doing the black and white. I also pulled out a couple of the numbers. Not sure which one I'll go with. Probably the green. And then I'm thinking that I'm going to use maybe this 3x4 little spot for on this page protector, maybe flipping it down and using it as some kind of flip up so that I can do my journaling underneath or something like that. So that's kind of my initial thoughts. So yeah, I'm gonna see where this takes me. Alrighty, so first thing I'm going to do is cut out my photo to see what size I need to put in that little spot where Santa is holding my photo. I believe, let's see, I was going to grab this size to see. It is about 4 by 2.5-ish. So a little bit smaller than a 3x4. So then I'm going to grab one of my page protectors and I'm going to cut out the 3x4 spot. I'm actually cutting it along the where the holes are, because I want to keep that part as well so that I can flip that under and use my page protector as a flip up. And then later I'll end up trimming some of it off because it's a bit longer. Now, had I had my fuse tool out, I could have actually just made that the 3x4 slot a little bit smaller for my photo, and it probably would have worked a little bit better because in the end it's a little wonky, but honestly I think I'm just nitpicking my own my own stuff, which we're always our own worst critic, right? So it turned out just fine. It's very cute. So I'm just kind of use my bone folder to kind of create a crease in my page protector to help lay it flat. And then later on, I'm actually going to add a magnet as well. And if this page looks familiar to you, it's very similar to the page that Allie did. I don't remember which day it was. It may have been her day 2, if I'm not mistaken. It's similar. And then I did a few other little things on here. So right now I'm just looking through my stash to find a piece of pattern paper or a journaling card to put on the back side of that photo. And I'm not going to embellish it or anything like that. And then on the bottom, or as you flip it up, that's where I will have my journaling. It's just a simple photo just about advent calendars and my doggos and their advent calendar. They share one because they don't each need a treat every single day. So, and I have found in these advent calendars that the dog treats are more than enough for me to split in three to give to them. Um, so there I cut my journaling, and then I actually ended up going with a journaling card that has like a black star. Uh, So I'm going to trim that transparency just a little bit because I don't need quite all that plastic on there. And then I'm going to use a strip of red line tape to hold that down onto my onto the piece of vellum that has the Santa on there. And then, like I said, I will end up adding a magnet at the end. Had I realized this earlier, I would have put the magnet underneath my journaling, but I wasn't thinking, and I just went ahead and put the journaling and adhered it. But it's fine. I ended up putting the magnet on the back side of the pattern paper, and it's strong enough that it works just fine. So I'm going to also use some red line tape to attach the journaling on there. And then I had gone through some of the cute little phrases and the little banner phrases that were in the main kit. And I'm going to add a little bit at the top. I didn't have a ton of journaling to put on here, so I made sure to leave a space at the top that I could add something, whether it was washi or, like I said, these cute little flags. So I love these. I love just adding these in. We're only on day 2 and I've already used them multiple times, so I love them. So I'm just going to add some adhesive and put that on there. So cute. I love that. And then I pulled out these little puffy hearts from my stash just to add a little something extra on there. So probably right about here is when I'm realizing that I probably should have put a magnet under there, but oh well, hindsight, right? So I ditched the red and the green numbers that I originally thought I would use, and I had this little gold half circle that I used on one of my other foundation pages. And I'm going to end up putting one of the gold puffy numbers on there. I was thinking I might put a tab sticker on the side, but ultimately I didn't really like that idea. So I'm going to put the number on there, and then I will put the magnet in the center of that gold and white half circle, and dimensional adhesive squares on either side of the magnet um, to attach that to my photo flip up. So I like that little half circle at the bottom. It's just enough to um, add a little something and put the number, and I think it looks really cute right there. So after I get that on, um, I am going to add the magnet to the back side of the pattern paper, but the first thing I'm going to do is kind of trim up um, these two cards right here, the photo and the journaling card, and then I'm going to adhere them together. So I'm just doing a little bit of trimming, and then I will put that back in there. I have noticed as it's in my album that it kind of wants to slip out of that pocket just a little bit, so I may end up sealing that pocket at some point. I don't know. We'll just see as I work on the album how much it's moving. But I think it's going to be fine for the most part. So you can see I have my magnet back there, but it's not attached to anything. So I'm just going to add some red line tape to attach that magnet, and actually I will end up moving that because I decided that I wanted to actually use the other pattern paper. I really like both of those, but I decided to go with the Happy Christmas because it just made me happy and I like it. And I think I want to use that star paper on a different page. The Be Merry flip ups that Allie did. I want to do one of those, and I think I want to do that, use that pattern paper on that. So I'm going to use some temporary tape to hold it together so that I can stitch it. But first I'm going to punch my holes to make sure that I stitch on the inside of the holes because I don't want my sequins falling out. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute, this page is going on the back side, so I need to punch the holes on the other side. But you may have noticed that I am still punching the holes in the wrong spot. And as soon as I flip it over, I go, oh, crap, I punched them on the wrong side, dummy. So that's okay. Time to pivot. So I'm going to punch the holes on the other side, and then I'm going to end up uh, trimming that other side off. I think it ends up being maybe like, I don't know, half an inch or something like that. Thankfully, the other side of my page, my day one, there is room to do some trimming. And if there wasn't, then I would just add some, palm trim or some washi, or there's almost always a fix that you can do. So, and this page ends up being a little bit shorter than my other ones, which is fine because I like to have different page sizes. So, all in all, it worked out just. So I took that over to my sewing machine and stitched the vellum to the pattern paper on 3 sides. And then I'm just kind of going through all of my sequins to decide which ones I want to put in there. Um, I was trying to look for something that had red that was similar to that Santa red. I had another one that had too much pink in it, and that just didn't really look right. So I considered using those clear or white ones, but I ended up going with these ones. There's like gold and green and red. And then I pulled out my star sequins, the ones I used on my little shaker tags in a previous video, and I added some of those. And I actually really like these. I contemplated dumping out the regular sequins and just having the stars, but then I thought, that's just being too nitpicky. So I didn't do that. And I just left it as it is. And it's so cute. So then I just stitched up that last side and it looks so cute. I love it. I am all about these shaker pages and shaker tags. They're just so fun. So I'm going to pull out my day one. I'm going to take those tags out of there so that I can attach these back to back. Um, I'm going to use red line tape to hold that in place because I've got a lot going on these 2 pages. I want to make sure they stay together. And then once I do that, I am going to punch the holes. I'm also going to trim the edge where I had to cut that day 2 shorter. I didn't bother cutting day 1 first because it really didn't matter which side it came off of, and I figured on the end it works out better anyway because that's the side that doesn't have the holes. So I'm just going to go ahead and attach that right on there and then flip it over and just trim out that edge. Like I said, if I had a day 1 that I couldn't trim up, I probably would have just added some ribbon or palm fringe or something like that, and that would have looked super cute as well. So, um, and again, I'm just going to punch the holes in my page, and it turned out super cute. I just love how that looks. So, I'm going to go ahead and put that in my album, and then I'm going to add day 1 and day 2 in my table of contents. And then there we go. And I'm ready to start day 3. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Um, be sure to give this video a like. And if you're not subscribed, be sure to subscribe. And I will see you in the next video.